Art Technique Podcast for April 22nd, 2012. Sure you do.
We'll all be in the same.
Okay, we're starting.
Is this for real?
Yeah, let's do it. Surprise!
Is this
No
real
different than-
life?
Well,
We can start over if we have to.
start over.
No.
All right.
No.
Welcome to episode 1.
Wait a minute.
What?
Because we started over.
Oh, I see what you
I
did.
did not go with you on that
I
journey.
did not
Apparently,
either.
no one did.
Sorry, there's a delay. It was going to take one more second for me to catch up with that joke.
I don't
see.
know that it was worth catching up to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how you guys doing?
Tired.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, y'all are working way harder than I am this week.
Oh, then you're supposed to be the fresh one.
Oh, yeah.
I,
So, Aaron, the entire show rides on you today.
That's
What
right.
have you got?
yeah, no, it's been great. We opened Anti-Mame.
Yeah.
We had 2 really great packed houses that were laughing, having a good time through the whole show.
And then things went awry.
Right, and then we opened, and no, it's been great. How's Tweeted going?
Oh, it's going really well. It's been interesting how different each audience has been, like in
Mhm.
terms of what they respond to in the script and each night. And
Yeah.
I would say for me, I felt really positive by Sunday, where I was finally felt like I was in a place when I was running the show that I wasn't so worried about what was next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a groove. So,
I have to make a list. That's the only way I can get through shows like that.
oh yeah, but your list has been so helpful to everyone backstage.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
I
Your-
can't wait to see it.
Yeah, your list has helped many people.
It is labeled my list, though,
Yeah.
clearly.
Don't do his tasks.
And yet you're the one person that I don't think I've ever seen looking at the list.
That's true.
He just needs to know it's there, and I
Okay.
totally understand.
It's like
that.
bringing your script on stage in an iPad or something. It's just, you don't have to look at it. You
All
just,
right, when the writers of the show change the ending an hour before our first audience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
Yes,
No.
it did.
No, of course.
Yes,
No.
it did. It's a
Adam
work in
gets all the
progress.
Star
whole
Trek
thing is a
speak,
work
though.
in progress.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's my justification.
That's the only reason he didn't kill us.
Well, that's good. It would be harder to replace you guys since the show changes constantly.
But we did give
Or
Adam all of
easier,
the.
maybe.
We did give Adam all of the, redirect warp power to the EPS conduit
Yeah.
kind of speeches.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I don't.
Techno babble he can handle. It's actual techno knowledge.
Yes. Aw. I'm awing myself now. Aw.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
You wanna
who's gonna
start?
Yeah, I'll start this time.
Great.
Okay. So I came across an article about an author named
Go on.
Scott Sigler. I think I'm saying his name right. Scott and then Sigler. And the reason I decided to bring him up in this discussion is a large part of his success has been through self-promotion and marketing on the internet. Specifically, he said he had a fairly small audience until he decided to start releasing a lot of his books in what he called Podiobooks.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Yeah.
They're
Say
very
it one
cool.
more time.
Podiobooks.
Okay.
Is that?
I'm with you.
Okay. And I actually there's a site Podiobooks.com that I went on and also looked around and that's the point of the whole site is authors are they post stuff that they're working on there for people to download for free. And then of course there's like suggested donations, but looking into this site it seemed really cool because they seem to any money that's donated you can donate to specific authors, and they said 75% of everything you give goes back directly to the people that are generating content for the site.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was just fantastic. So I was kind of tooling around on there, looking at some stuff that they had. But back to Scott Sigler, it was just interesting. He said now he's a New York Times bestseller, but he wasn't before he started doing these Podiobooks. And he essentially just started writing works that he was giving away for free. And it generated a lot of talk and a lot of generated a new fan base, I guess. And once they sort of latched into his content because he was giving it all away for free, then they started
becoming true fans.
True fans,
where they were willing to follow his content.
Exactly right, and that's why I thought this was such a wonderful article to stumble upon, because it addresses so much of what we've been talking about. What were some things he also said? This one book, I assume this is the book that sort of started this idea off, was called Earth Core, and the way he released it was he released it in 20 sort of mini Podiobook episodes. So each week was a new episode.
Like Dickens.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And so, thank you. And so...
I am now the most illiterate person in the room. Go on.
A lot of stuff that he released when Dickens first released it was serialized.
Like when Stephen King did with, was it Green Mile? Was that serialized?
I don't know if it was.
Moving on.
Let's be honest. But yeah, exactly. It was serialized novels and short stories, and it was just interesting to listen to him saying how that process, specifically doing the Podiobooks, he said made him a better writer, because now he was reading all of this stuff that he was writing down, and he said it became very evident as he would read things out loud what parts were essential to the story and what parts were just him showing off as a writer. That is a direct quote from him.
Right.
When you're reading out loud, you can kind of hear your pretentiousness. You're not getting any story information. You're just kind of showing off as a writer. And so he was saying how that process actually, he thinks, improved him as a writer over time.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, it was an interesting article to stumble upon. It made me miss something that I used to go to a lot back when we were in college called, it was like freeplays.com. And it was the same basic idea. It was a place for people to just post one acts, full length plays that they were working on. And part of the rules of posting there were you opened yourself up that anybody could do this play without any type of compensation to the playwright. And I don't know. I read a lot of neat, interesting pieces on there. The website doesn't exist anymore, though. But yeah, so that's kind of sad. But yeah, so I throw that out there. Specifically, I was thinking of you, Jeff, when I was reading this, only because it's talking about a lot of self-promotion using the internet to get your work out there, and I was thinking of the comics that you draw and
all my 300 Roses Craigslist postings.
Yeah, exactly. So this made me think of you, and so I'd be really interested to hear, I guess, maybe part of your reaction to this guy.
It's funny. What I latch onto with him, I'd heard of Podiobooks before. I forgot about them, to be honest. But what I latch onto is the serialized storytelling component, because I grew up on comics, right? And episodic TV, now that I think about it. And when I think about all of the stories and the characters I love, it's all episodic because I like seeing the same characters, apparently, go through years together in all these long situations, because I feel like in some ways TV hits on more reality in some ways than maybe movies do, because you've got, if you're hanging around the same group of people for any length of time, and you go through every kind of scenario imaginable. But thinking about comics and thinking about the stuff that I write, I tend to feel my most at home when I'm writing short little episodic things that go out, and it's like we did with the cricket, where it's a bunch of short little episodic stuff that we would tie together into a longer thing later. So that I think that's fascinating. It must have been very difficult to do what he did. I mean, to get seen, to get noticed. Like, there's so much work, I feel like, that goes into that people don't see.
Part of another thing he was talking about, speaking of promotion, and you talking about comic books. Apparently, his newest book called Nocturnal is, I think, has just come out or is just about to,
Mhm.
and he actually worked with some fans to generate a teaser trailer, like a little preview video,
Yeah,
commercial, whatever,
whatever.
of this upcoming book. And he started doing that, I think, also with Earthcore and some of his earlier stuff. And he said he paid for everything, all the expenses out of pocket himself, and it was largely just sort of donated time from people that really appreciated and loved
Huh.
his work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it makes me, the comic book comment made me think of that, just because he described his new novel as being more comic book like, and so apparently the trailer, I wasn't able to locate it, um, but the trailer is, they said, almost like a comic book, like a preview for sort of a movie version of like a graphic novel
Yeah.
or comic book movie or something to that effect.
Speaking of comic books, uh, Marvel Infinite Comics. That's a new thing they're doing,
Okay.
which kind of make this reminded me of this. They're taking uh, if I can understand this correctly, I downloaded one and I read it. They're taking, I think, new comics that they're creating, and I don't know if they're special editions or if they're going to convert old ones as well, but they're formatting them specifically for tablet devices, computer devices, things like that, and they're working with the artists from panel to actual production on how to lay everything out for the screens.
Huh.
And it reminds me sort of what kind of what, if I can toot our horn a little bit here,
Yeah.
what we've done with our comics, where since we started in e-comics and we didn't have the burden, if you will, of starting in print comics, that we designed everything for the e-reader screens first. And so I love that Marvel's catching on and doing that, because it's an interesting reading experience. It's funny to me though, because they chose to go landscape, which is great for the device because it's immersive. You feel sort of like almost a movie or something in a way. In it's a way we're used to being immersed with our whole, we're looking at a horizontal thing and it's our field of vision or whatever. But I still tend to think of comics as being in portrait.
Mhm.
And so it's an I mean, it's clearly a choice that they had to make. But I guess the landscape format will give them, it'd be easier for them across other devices. But
Mhm.
it's pretty neat. Like they did a great job with
Yeah.
it.
We actually are designed to lose a horizontal border faster than we are a vertical border,
Really?
because naturally the border of the horizon being horizontal
Right.
has sort of wired our brain and our perception that we see horizontal lines less.
Uh-huh.
Like
Huh.
we airbrush them out of our own images
Right.
much more quickly, and so things being in that horizontal layout become immersive because you start losing that horizontal border around it.
Well, another thing they do that I think is cool are focus shifts. It's a trick that um, I'm sure I borrowed from them that I saw in motion comics, which I thought was great. They sort of took everything they learned from motion comics. I don't know if they're abandoning their whole motion comics line, but it's kind of, they experimented, and I think it's kind of, retiring. But it's evolved into sort of what they're doing here, where you'll see focus blurs between two characters, but the panel art's the same. And I think that's brilliant. Like I think that's really
Yeah.
simple. Lets you know who you're supposed to be looking at. Lets you keep the art the same. Feels cinematic. I think this is great. I really think it's great. So good job, Marvel.
I'm right in the middle of Script Frenzy this year, which is the script version of National Novel Writing Month, which is starting to, people know that phrase, but it's either a challenge in November for National Novel or in April for Script Frenzy, in which you are challenged to create. You have 30 days to write a 100-page script and deal with editing later. Just get
Yeah.
100
Just get the
pages
thing
out.
out.
So I've been reading a lot about script and novel writing and just writing in general. And I had somebody send me Brandon Sanderson's class called Write About Dragons. And it's basically he's teaching a college level class, and they're posting all the lectures onto the internet. And it's about he's written several sort of sci-fi fantasy epic novel series, and how he does it. And basically, the class is to write a novel. And if you do that, you pass the class. And if you don't do that, you don't pass the class. But again, it's sort of first draft quantity over necessarily quality. But this idea of doing the Podiobooks, where you're just writing and hearing and thinking and receiving the feedback immediately, everything I've been looking at over the last couple of months is that writing is not a talent, writing is not an inspiration, writing is not a moment of absolute clarity that appears on the paper. It's a skill.
Right.
And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And yes, some people might find it an easier skill over a more difficult skill, but it is a developable skill.
You can't just write when you feel like it.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the great cameo articles on Script Frenzy, where like professional writers will send in an essay about, you're stuck on the page 50 right in the middle of your script, what do you do now, or how to begin or how to end. They'll just send out essays about encouragement and their thoughts on writing. One of them was called Writing Equals Ass Plus Chair.
Nice.
And so that idea of generating content over and over and over again, coupled with the immediacy of hearing your own work and other people's feedback, is going to generate that skill and make you a better writer. It reminds me also of a YouTube feature that seems to have stemmed from XKCD Comic, where it will read you your comment back before it will post it, so that you can hear if you're an idiot before
Nice.
you leave.
People must not use that very often.
Yeah.
Probably not. No, it is still optional.
Oh, okay.
And that's the difference between the comic book version in
All right.
XKCD, where it was a mandatory sort of CAPTCHA thing, versus how YouTube implemented it. But the idea being that if people actually had to hear the comments they were leaving on articles or YouTube videos or out there on the web, that we would have a higher level of discourse out there.
Right.
Oh.
That dog video was awesome. YOLO.
Oh.
YOLO is
Yeah.
the phrase floating around these days, apparently.
Yeah. But I don't know how it fits with the dog video.
Exactly.
You'll know.
Yeah.
This is a tweeted thing.
Yeah.
YOLO. You'll see it tomorrow.
I didn't even listen to episode 3 yet because I really wanted to come in and episode 3.
That's probably for the best. Although the Adam Archer impressions at the end are great.
I did
funny.
hear that because I wanted to hear my parts at the top and the bottom of the episode, and so I caught back in just in time to hear the Adam Archers going around the table.
I might see if he can come on one more time. If he can come on at all before he's
him.
gone. Yeah, we just chat with him for a minute, and But anyway, that's another episode. We're still in this one.
It's so hard to stay on the project you're currently doing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And I mean that just sort of globally. I mean, that's one of the other things that all the writers are talking about, is that they're all like, this is draft 1.
Right.
You're going to finish it, and you're going to be like, I never want to think about that piece again. You're going to put it away, and you're going to start a new thing. But don't. You have to do.
Yeah. I feel that way with Cricket too right now. I'm in the middle of writing that script, and it's awful. The first half is good, but the second half is just awful. I think I tried to get clever instead of stick with this, or I'm trying to cram 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. I just too many things that I want to do with the character at one time, and so it's overloaded. But so instead, I want to write the sequel to the weekly or something.
Sure.
But I need to finish this candy bar before I have another. Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know. I guess I don't. But I don't regularly discipline myself to sit down and write.
Yeah.
Like I know typically the times that I've written was for a class, like
Mm-hmm.
playwriting in college, or if I've got this very specific project that I'm writing for, like a show, Dancing
Right.
Monkey,
Right.
or Tweeted, or something like that. So
It's been different knowing that when I've got nothing else planned for the rest of the day, I've been taking a page from Jeff's book and going to the coffee house where there isn't
That's
as
what happened
much
to all my pages.
fun stuff, at home. There's
Yeah.
always something I can, at the coffee house. I'm like, just sit down and I work, and I get a good chunk of pages written.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been very interesting, like I said, a lot of what the idea of script frenzy is to get a big enough chunk of marble to carve the elephant later.
Right. Yeah.
And there have been passages where I'm like writing, and sometimes it's like, oh, I know exactly how this scene is going to go, and he's going to say this, and they're going to say that, and it's going to be great. And then there are some where I'm just sort of like pushing and just trying to get something down on the paper. And when I read it all, I'm at page 85. So my last little chunk is sort of the final battle and the denouement. And I sort of went back for the first time and sort of read pages 1 through 85 to sort of figure out, okay,
Right.
now how do I take all of this?
Right.
I know how I plan to solve the problem, but I need to figure out,
Yeah.
what I've got here. And passages that I didn't really think I was going to like as I was just sort of writing them, I was like, it really has a place in this bigger thing I've created, and it needs work, but there's something there already.
Hmm.
And you can't tell the difference between the pages where it was golden light epiphany
Right.
and just sitting there and working
Yeah.
really hard at it. All right. So those are my thoughts on writing, and I totally see how just lots of writing.
Right.
Podiobooks. I keep losing that phrase.
Audiobooks, yeah.
Not
It was a
great.
fun word when I stumbled across it because I'd never heard it, and I'm just recently getting into audiobooks.
Yeah.
I finally got an Audible account.
Oh yeah, cool.
I did. I went ahead and did one on my own just because I needed some books for the end of the day for that reading group that I
Yeah.
work with at school, and so. But it's been
My library now has audiobooks and an app on my phone, and so I can check out virtual audiobooks from my library onto my phone, listen to them in my car, and then they just disappear when I'm finished with them, or 12 hours before I'm finished with them, which is less encouraging. But yeah, I've been whipping through.
I feel like we should talk about the Tupac hologram.
Oh,
We're talking about art
yeah.
and technology.
I'd forgotten about that. I was so
Oh,
blown away
man.
when I watched that video.
Going back to our Tasha Yar discussion.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was saying, okay, 3D technology of
yeah.
Tasha Yar.
Who's heard about how it actually worked?
I don't.
I know nothing.
You were right when you said, what was it called?
Pepper's Ghost.
Pepper's Ghost. Yeah, it is. It's a mirror trick. It's one of the oldest in the book. But the difference here is they did use an HD projector. But yeah, basically there's an angled mirror in the floor and a piece of mylar up front, and the projector was at such an angle,
Wow.
So through reflections, they created this. Now, what they're not saying, so far anyway, is how they actually generated him. Like, we know there's a portion that was from concert footage.
Yeah.
But it almost looks to me like maybe, I don't know if this is true at all, but perhaps he's basically an animation. Like they took a wire frame.
That's what I thought.
Skinned it in Tupac's skin.
We don't
and
have to know
animated
if it's true. We're on the internet.
That's true. I mean, internety. But yeah, I just, and then the whole thought of, well, does that open up for other artists artists to tour posthumously. And I read a joke somewhere that was like, is Paul McCartney going to have to say in his will that I do not want to be reanimated as a hologram?
That
Ooh.
was what bothered me about it, is that if as he was dying, he had helped create this and
Right.
said, "This is what I want you to do for the rest of my life, or the rest of my afterlife, is send this hologram
Right.
to concerts." But it's
Hologram
like,
is in shape, though.
that's true.
So I'd be like, yeah,
What?
sure. The hologram is in shape.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hologram's
It is.
been hitting
But
the
even
light
before
gym.
the hologram came along, I mean, I was wondering too about, like, how long is too long to keep using. I don't know if I'm finding the right word. Keep using the memory of somebody. I guess.
Well, it was like
Yeah.
there was that Swiffer or Mop commercial or something with like Fred Astaire dancing on the ceiling,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
digitally replaced his partner with the Mop product. Oh,
Yeah.
I just went out.
No, we're still good.
Okay.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah. But it was like, and I think I was talking to Jeff actually about this a couple weeks ago too. But it's just, like I remember when I was little and hearing on the radio, it was Elvis's birthday.
Oh yeah,
And
starts to get weird as he gets
yeah.
older.
And it
Here's
was
what
like,
he might have looked like
today, if Elvis were alive, it would have been his 70-something
Yeah.
birthday. And then they do like crazy ones too, like people that it would be like 187.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just like, at what
So
point
unless
do
you're
you
Spock,
How do
Yeah.
you decide that they would have died even if they had lived?
right?
yeah. When do
What's
you
the-
when do you
what's the cutoff?
fictionally kill them? You ever see like on shows like Entertainment Tonight where they would post what they think they would look like
No.
at this
no,
age?
thankfully no.
It was weird. I remember. I guess I saw it in the '90s or something, and it was '90s aging, which it was
Right.
probably anyway. It was
They
weird.
blurred the
Digitally
lens a little
aged,
bit.
Yeah, it was weird.
Put some
Add some crow's
Vaseline on
feet
it.
and a what?
I don't know. I was trying something.
Put some Vaseline.
Put some
on it.
Vaseline on it. Like my voice?
I do.
Thank you.
We'll use
do.
that somewhere.
Vaseline.
But you just think about how much the image of Tupac has been invoked for various causes since he died.
Yep.
And
I worked for him after he died.
I remember, yeah.
What?
No,
Go
I remember
on.
this story, yeah.
When I was a student at Georgia Perimeter College, they were still renting their main auditorium out to community events and things. And Memorial Drive now houses the Tupac Amaru Shakur Arts Foundation for inner city arts education, which is great.
That's cool.
But like the very first year they did it, they had their like class recital performance at our auditorium, and I was hired to do the light board for the performance. We were not supposed to have to do a light design because they had somebody who did theatrical lighting. Of course, the last time he had done theatrical lighting was in the 70s, so when they started explaining that this computer was the light board and there were 3 moving fixtures in the air, he started just sort of staring at them and blinking occasionally. But so they had a little sort of variety show about that was all of their classes' presentations strung together loosely with this plot of a kid who wanted to be the next Tupac. And they had a rapping class and a dance class and singing and various other things. They had this little token white girl, the one in the cast, and over the whole thing was this actually very cool airbrushed banner of sort of a thundercloud and lightning bolts with Tupac's eyes sort of floating in this image, watching over them.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool.
And now that hangs up in your room.
It is, because I stole it as soon as they all looked away.
Yeah.
It did, however, my one usable piece of rap knowledge came into play that night, and I managed to make friends with all of these people on the headset.
What is your one usable piece
Please
of
repeat
rap
the
knowledge?
All right, so,
so
we're
funny.
all on headset, and it's like me and the Tupac art teachers and things. So they're the other people on headset, and it's just one little me sitting up in the light booth. And so we're doing like we always do on headsets and sort of talking about how the show is going and what's going on. And token white girl starts. She was in the rap class, by the way.
Right.
So she starts falling behind the rhythm and losing the music as she's trying to.
I know
rap
nothing
out her
about
beats.
that.
And one of the instructors is like, "Oh, she's falling behind the beat," and I go, she's just going West Coast with it." And they all start howling into the headset. And after that, I was sort of
You endeared yourself
I
to
had
them.
endeared myself, but that was the one thing I knew is that East Coast rappers rap on the beat, and West Coast rappers rap behind the beat.
Yep.
I don't actually know what that means precisely, but I happen to know that that statement is true.
Oh God. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert, for
yeah.
teaching me that random bit about rappers that paid
Oh,
off
man.
later that year.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yes, the hologram, even if it is older stage illusion, is really cool. I mean, they made it look good. They made it look like
Oh,
it
yeah.
was this thing, and then
Yeah.
having Snoop come up next to him so that it
Yeah.
was like the two of them performing together.
Yeah.
Added another fun element to what we perceived the technology to be.
I will say the blue light, stage light from the hologram, and the fact that he's essentially illuminated from the inside gives him a weird Jedi ghost vibe.
Well, if any of the rappers are going to become a Jedi ghost for the rest
Yeah.
of them, don't you think it's
Yeah.
going to be Tupac?
Yeah, that's true. But they're talking about doing this with Biggie.
Oh,
Huh.
Yep.
Guess.
I remember when Biggie was just a
media.
size you could get at Wendy's. That joke just died.
We're just gonna leave it out there.
Let's all just
And now a
watch
moment
it.
of silence.
Speaking,
Are we gonna laugh coming back into this one too?
Yes. We just said.
speaking of a moment of silence, just to keep our podcast cutting edge, have you both heard?
Oh gosh, not if it was silent. I have not.
No.
What? I'm all
We
at
have
Twitter.
lost Dick Clark this
Oh,
afternoon.
I heard us on the ride over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you're gonna drop that on me in the podcast.
I am, because
Yeah.
that's what makes this
What?
organic and exciting.
Who will do? Seacrest is a poor man's New Year's host.
But no, Regis has been doing it for him, hasn't he? Didn't Regis replace
Well,
Dick Clark?
I seem to remember Clark would be on for like 5 minutes or at the desk.
Yeah,
or,
they
like,
would.
He was
They would
there.
bring him out because he had that bad stroke a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. But that's just
I didn't
amazing.
know it was so rough to be Dick Clark. Well, I mean, really, that's a rough. Don't laugh. That's kind of a terrible life.
Yeah.
At like that last part of it, the rest was fine. I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, he was popular. He got to host a lot of things.
I'm sure, much like William Shatner, he has suffered things that we have.
He hosted American Bandstand. Come on.
We won't. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
My-
He
my
got
mom-
out to do some fun stuff.
Speaking of Dick Clark and American Bandstand, my mom was actually on American Bandstand.
Was she?
One
What?
time. Because they filmed it in Philadelphia, and my mom's from Philadelphia. And she, the way she got on was, it was, they apparently filmed it in an area of town that was not the best, like wherever the studio was.
That's where
And
they could
so-
afford.
Right, that's where they could afford.
Right.
And so my grandmother was just adamant that my mom was not going to go down there. Like you're not going to go to that part of the city at all. And so there was, my mom was determined. And
Feels
one
like
day,
the plot to Hairspray.
it is a little bit. I mean, it was the right time.
It's
too.
what occurred to me as soon as he started
It
talking
really
about
is.
it.
No, I never thought about that. My mom and Tracy Turnblad. But she desperately wanted to be on the show because it was, the big thing when she was a teenager. She's 14, 15.
Yeah.
And so she and another friend, I don't remember who it was, but they got on the train, they went down there, and they got onto an episode of American Bandstand. My mom, for the life of her, cannot remember like who the musical guest was that day. So I have no way of pinpointing it because it wasn't like one of the big name Axe. It was, I think, somebody local,
Yeah.
and so she doesn't remember who it was, but she just said she remembers, after the episode was filmed, getting home. And once it was nighttime in that part of the city, and she was like 14 years old, and just she and her friend, so they kind of freaked themselves out. Plus, she was terrified that she was going to be, murdered, grounded, whatever, when she got home. But somehow they got it past my grandmother, and she was never discovered. So
Did she make it home alive?
I can only hope.
That's
Dick
good.
Clark saw through it.
Otherwise,
He was there.
Bum, bum,
bum,
bum.
bum.
And Dick Clark was there.
Is your mom a pod person?
No, I'm barely a pod person, Jeff. Oh, you
Not-
mean like
not
a
an
pod
iPod
people, pod
person.
person? I
No,
thought
like
you meant
like
okay. I thought you meant
body
technology
snatched.
pod.
Body snatched.
She could be.
Just gonna let that hang.
Just let
in
that
the
one.
air.
Yep. Man, you're
Uh.
killing with the pop culture references today, Jeff.
William Shatner
Yeah, let's go back to William
William
Shatner.
Shatner.
Oh, yeah.
Love him.
got a better death on the Priceline commercials than Star Trek.
He
True or
did die.
false?
He did die on a bridge in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
On an actual.
I
but
held
not on-
off commenting on that post that you put the other night just because I really had to like ruminate on that.
I don't
Okay,
think
have
I've
you had time
seen
to think
it.
about it?
I don't know how he
think I
dies
have.
in the
So
Priceline.
the Priceline negotiator
Yeah.
gets onto this bus of a bunch of people
Mhm.
Yeah.
going on vacation,
Yes.
and it ends up going over the cliff, and he manages to get them all off the emergency exit, and then passes like a coupon or something back
Yeah.
through the back door, which
Mhm.
tips the balance enough. And after saving all these people from the crashing bus and giving them a coupon,
Uh-huh.
the bus tips over the edge of the cliff, and the negotiator appears to go up.
He's presumed to be dead.
And I hadn't really thought about
Huh.
it as a death, except the new series of the commercials is like interviewing the various people that he saved from the bus about his sacrifice.
First off,
Yeah.
no one wants to get killed by Malcolm McDowell. Period. You do?
I don't know. I just thought it'd be cute to raise my hand, so I did.
Because it's a radio show.
It's a radio show and nobody would know.
Yeah.
So that's a point against Star Trek.
He basically got killed by Boy Guinan. I mean, right? Because they're the same race.
Right.
Wow, we're taking a
Illyrians.
left turn into Nerdtopia right
Yeah.
now.
Now,
But he
I
did,
wanna see
right?
how
They
you
were-
dissect this.
They were
yeah.
they were Elorians. They're
Yeah.
and
Not
so,
to be
yeah.
confused with DeLoreans.
oh no,
They're both time
Okay.
travelers.
That's true,
Uh-huh,
and they both
uh-huh.
probably have done cocaine. But
What?
what?
I didn't-
Anyway,
Nailed it.
But yeah, I mean, people get mad because Picard just buried him under a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
But what was the dude gonna do? I don't know. It's not like he had a
Ray-Ban
transporter
sunglass case.
or a shuttlecraft or anything useful like that.
Okay.
I always assumed also, by the way, that was a temporary grave.
Okay.
I mean,
Oh,
he's
that they
dead.
would
I don't
come
follow
back
the
and-
books. But yeah,
Right. Yeah, they
like,
would come
okay,
back and do
here's
something
where
nice
he
with the
is.
body.
Here's the badge. Y'all come pick him up.
But you can fly. I mean, it's the future. You can fly around to any planet. Wouldn't it make more sense just put like some giant monument and like put all touristy things around it so you could, make
So
a little make a
reason
little
to
latinum
visit,
off of it?
Riza.
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 Where all your dreams come true. It was Viridian 3. It was Viridian 3 that he died on. I know it was.
Oh, you were trying to name the planet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, visit beautiful Viridian 3.
Adam was trying to come up with places for a good grave
Well,
marker.
it's like when you go visit the exploded Romulan homeworld in Star Trek Online.
Mm-hmm.
There's just the big monument.
Holographic
Can
monument.
we please dig me out of this hole that I'm so far in now?
No. Let's.
Where-
All right,
where
we'll come
were
back
we?
to the noble death. Okay. Let's see here. I think the Priceline death was more noble, and I think the sacrifice was greater. And in his
Mhm.
final moments, maybe not the sacrifice was greater, but he gave something in that last moment that is going to continue to help people from this point on. The
The
coupon
coupon.
will keep giving. Whereas in Star Trek Generations, he saves them,
Mhm.
but it's kind of like yeah, we did like a little time jump, blah blah blah. Yeah, we saved all these people on this planet. Come on, they were a pre-warp civilization.
Right.
Screw them, okay?
Yeah.
And so
We're supposed to leave them alone if you're playing by
right.
the rules, but
That's
Jim
right.
Kirk can't play by the
Isn't that
dang
isn't that
rules.
Well,
convenient
he
that they
changes the
yeah
rules.
the prime directive, they follow it when they
Yeah,
want
when they
to,
want
and
to.
when they don't want to. It's whatever's going to
It's more like
make
the
the
prime
most.
option.
Yep.
It's the plot directive is what it is. Whatever's going to be the most useful for that episode, that's the way they're going to fall.
The
So-
prime consideration.
Yes. So yes. So the Priceline death was more meaningful because
Right.
it continues to give right now.
There has to be some reason beyond the fact that we're all giant nerds that we keep coming back to Star Trek on the podcast about intersecting art and tech.
Well, it is the intersection of art and tech.
I mean, like, I guess the Okuda panels, is that what they're called? The colorful plexiglass,
Yeah.
the Okdudagrams
Because he was
and
he
stuff
was
like
the
that.
guy
He
that was
the
in
art
charge
designer,
of props
right?
and sort of
The
what's the
look
word?
of
Design.
This,
Yeah.
the art director maybe
Art
was that what
direction.
he
There
was?
we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that he continued those the colors that you had in the '60s. All those really bright kind of. He pasteled them a little bit, but
Mhm.
and just made them into all these interesting shapes and made them flat and
Yeah.
I thought his designs were brilliant. But
I think they would have been a very difficult system to actually operate, but
yes, if you've ever played with any all cars mock-ups, yes, they're weird and they end up looking kind of like windows in a way.
everything's
Start
nested
throwing,
within it. Yeah.
yeah, they start throwing everything into basically two pastel parentheses of
Mhm.
information that you're looking through, which I think is interesting. Yeah, it's not a. I always feel like it was a system that like you would know very well. You would get it if you lived there. You're like, oh, well, this is just
Yeah.
Windows, 2398.
Well, it is the future,
That's fair.
or one of our possible futures.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Blah,
So is
blah,
Futurama then
blah.
in that regard.
We're going to be cartoons in the
I don't,
future.
yeah, I don't know which one I'd rather be. Would you rather live in the Star Trek future or the Futurama future?
Well, what about the Star Trek the animated series?
Mhm.
No. Don't.
Shh, we don't talk
don't
about
invoke-
that.
Don't
That was a
invoke that.
fine.
I asked
That
a
was a
simple
fine
question.
series. I
didn't
watched
see
it
it.
all the time growing. 'Cause you used to rerun it on Nickelodeon a lot when I was little, so that's when I
Oh.
watched
yeah?
it.
I watched
so
the
I enjoyed it.
Herculoids.
Oh, I watched those too. Those were always on after when I got home from church.
Or Wacky Races.
Not now.
Motley.
What was the guy's name that says that line?
Dastardly.
Dirk Dastardly?
I just like that you guys had a voice.
I don't want to say Dick.
No.
Oops. Is it Dirk
I
Dastardly
think so.
or Snively? Was there a Snively?
Snidely Whiplash.
Snidely Whiplash. Thank you.
Was Perils of Pauline the Mountie?
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of Underdog.
Dudley Do Right?
Dudley Do Right.
Thank you.
Dudley Do Right.
Wasn't he? Underdog was somebody else.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Snidely was.
Underdog
Dudley.
was what? Paula Poundstone. That would have been a. Sorry, she would have had a great name for an underdog villain, and she would have been great coming on the show. I can't do a Paula Poundstone impression, so I
Please
won't even
try.
try.
Just do your Ira Glass
Oh, well.
impression.
I'm on Underdog. I can't do it.
But yeah, she'd be
So
good.
convincing. The voice is a little off, but the physicality he embodied when he said that,
It really. She was in the room with us.
it was like she was in the room.
Mm-hmm.
If I could swear,
We're so getting on. Wait, don't tell me next week. They're going to talk about us.
That would be awesome. I love Wait, Don't Tell Me.
I do too. I love
I
it.
like it. I like it.
Oh.
I sometimes love it. I mostly like it.
Okay.
It reminds me of sort of
The way my brain works.
yes, that my word and says you, but
Yeah.
sort of with a modern news tilt.
Informational,
Yeah,
but fun.
infotainment.
Let that be said of all of us.
Okay, we should probably bring it on home now and find some more topics.
Okay.
Although I'm enjoying talking about Paula Poundstone on Underdog, but
Some other things.
It could be a super.
have we discussed everything possible there is to discuss
I think we have
about
covered the
is the
intersection of
podcast?
art and
Is it
humor.
over? Is that it?
Oh
was
gosh,
it was
no,
a
there's
good
more
5.
stuff out there.
Really?
I guarantee you.
I'm
Boys,
not
whip
looking.
open your
Whoa.
your computer things.
Let's.
I just want to see the Avengers. That's all I want to talk about.
Oh, you want to talk about the Avengers?
We can.
All right, you start.
Aaron's looking for stuff. I want to see it.
Oh,
It's
is that
Joss
it?
Whedon. Well, that's the
Yes.
most important thing.
Yeah.
I saw a clip from it.
A true fan, are you?
What clip did you see?
Yeah, the one with the Cap and Thor fight.
Oh,
Or not fight.
I started to watch
whatever.
Thor and Iron Man. Right?
Ooh, I haven't
Oh,
watched
that was the one I started to watch, and after about like 3 seconds, I was like, "Nah, this just feels wrong."
Just I know.
You know what I
just
mean?
wait. Yeah, I felt
Like,
I felt that way a little bit. I was like, in seeing that one clip, I said, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like
nope,
I always
nope.
have to temper myself. I love going to aintitcool.com. Aaron knows this.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't even bother reading it anymore because he knows when he sees me, I'm going to tell him whatever is on there.
I've
Right?
never been good about like
Yeah.
aggregate sites and stuff where
Yeah.
it like is updates and things. So
It's-
you've always been my source for Ain't It Cool news.
Yeah, but I check it like every day. Like I always stay on top of whatever they are talking about.
That's true. I hear that from you a lot.
I do. It's just because it covers a lot of things that I'm interested in. Their focus is sci-fi, horror,
Mhm.
TV, film, media in general, and so you get a lot of nice little nuggets out there and informational things. Speaking of, there was a nice interview that one of them did with Joss Whedon, talking
Oh.
about a lot of Avengers stuff, and he was talking about the process of putting the script together, and that the actors had a lot of input and say as to how they wanted their characters to be developed, and I think ultimately how a lot of the script turned out, and so it was a very collaborative effort.
As was tweeted.
As was tweeted, yeah.
Marvel is always following in our footprints.
You know, that seems to be. They could learn a thing or two.
E-comics, motion comics,
true. I realized
collaborative
how
scripts.
pretentious I sounded earlier.
Well, it's
But I was
because
just
you're
like,
saying it out loud
"Oh, whatever.
and
That's
not
true.
just writing it down
That's true.
for people to read. Podiobooks.
Patio.
Patio. Sounds like patio.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that's why you wanted me to say it, like repeat it earlier, Aaron.
Partially.
Yeah, partially.
Also, I just wanted to make sure I had heard what you had said correctly. I'm like, excuse me? You had a thought?
I did, and I don't know if it's related to what we talk about, but I was slipping through last night.
We ran out of arts and tech. Remember? Who cares? Brave new frontier, everybody.
Okay, I should have brought.
Part-
I don't have my computer with me.
Podcast
Otherwise,
about arts tech and
Whatever that
Whatever.
triggers in our
Aw.
brain.
on our fifth one already.
Yeah.
No, I had something else, but I don't have my computer with me, so I can't bring it up. So I don't want to talk about it. But
Okay, we'll save it for next
I'll
week.
save it for next week then.
No,
but
okay.
the thing that I
means
watched
we get
last
one
night,
more show.
I can't.
Yeah, my leg.
I've got stuff. We just
Bring it then.
you
Yeah,
finish.
bring it.
Okay, the thing that I saw last night, and I want to remember what channel it was on, but it was called Doomsday Preppers.
I know what you're talking about. The TV show.
I think it might have been on the National
Something like that?
Geographic channel.
Yes, people who
Yeah.
are who have underground.
Prepping for 2012
Yeah.
and building bunkers and stuff like that.
Oh, this is like the new hoarders. Is we now watch the Doomsday People?
Probably, I guess, for this
Mhm.
year, since it is, the year of the
2012.
apocalypse.
Oh,
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Remember when
It's a good thing we waste all this time
I
on this
used to
podcast
talk
this year
about-
instead of
I used what?
finding dates. What?
Oh, talk about that all the time. And Aaron Gottlieb is the most rational person I know. Like in terms of you can pick apart an idea
You poor man.
and break it. No.
Oh,
You know what I mean? He can break down an argument into its smaller pieces and examine them and you do that with things that you're trying to understand, and then you rebuild it once you understand it. However, I have never seen a more emotional reaction about anything than when I would talk about, we shouldn't even think about what we're going to be doing 30 years from now because 2012, that's just around the corner. 2012, it's all going to end. We're all going to die. And Aaron, I think on a rational level, understood that.
Never have. I mean, I did not
Yeah.
ever really believe that the world is planning to end in 2012, but there was something about that constant reminder of
Yes.
having my best friends say, "We're all gonna die next
You know,
year."
yeah. We'll all be dead. We'll all
Why
be dead.
are you thinking about grad school? You won't even get there before the world ends.
And I would just say this all the time. And I think it was maybe not even a year ago that you finally the switch flipped.
Yeah.
And I don't think it works anymore.
No,
But
no, I'm pretty good now.
yeah, but it was just interesting. It was just
It bothered me in
Yeah.
a weird little way. And I mean, not in a I sincerely believe the world
Yes,
is ending kind of way,
yeah.
just in this there is no logical argument against this because I know he doesn't believe what he's saying.
no.
But
But it was just absolutely amazing the reaction that I would see every time I said it.
yeah,
For years. For years. This went on for years. 'Cause,
well,
yeah. But yeah, Volt, we've all got our little hang-ups.
Didn't you do the math on that once, saying there's something strange about the calendar, meaning that it should have happened?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
there's
Years ago.
definitely different problems with the equation, both from the Mayan side and from the Roman calendar side. I mean, if you take into account leap seconds and leap minutes and leap days,
That's
yes, we're
it.
way past it. Even if we followed the Mayan calendar to it. And also, I mean, it's the Y2K problem of the Mayan computer system. It's not that they really predicted that time was ending. It was
No.
just like, this is as far as we've worked the calendar
Yeah.
out, and we'll deal with that later if it becomes a problem.
Oops, our society collapsed first.
And so instead, we just get this weird thing that newspapers and websites
Yeah.
can harp on, and just this 2012 thing.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I always thought Y2K was going to involve zippers. Like, you ever look down your zipper and you see the YKK thing, and it's like, oh god,
those are the two Ks.
you're
right
not
there.
you're not long for this world, little friend. You know.
Yes.
Ah!
Oh, that's not good.
Y2K. I
Uh,
remember that one too. That one didn't scare me either. Like, it didn't
Right.
make me nervous. Maybe it's because I didn't know anything about computers and still don't really, so I was ignorant. Yeah. And funny was my mom, bringing it back to her again.
it all comes back to Adam's
Yeah.
mom.
My mom, that's what she did. She was a civil servant, worked for the United States Marine Corps, and that's what her job was for the 10 years leading up to 2000, was fixing all that code. Her whole section, and I think there were like multiple sections of contractors and people doing that, and they were so efficient at it that they were doing it even after Y2K happened. Like, for 3 years after, they were still repairing the code. So yeah,
your
there we
tax
go.
dollars at work.
Yeah,
Podcast that is the intersection of art, technology, and Adam's
Adam's
mom.
mom. Maybe we'll have her on one day.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Then you can
What would
see.
she talk about?
Oh,
Whatever we prompt her on, I'm sure she would have some thoughts.
she'd probably have something to say about me and
Oh,
my
gosh.
brother. And...
I remember when Adam was little, and that's what she sounds like, right?
Exactly, like spot on.
Right,
As
right.
accurate as all of your other impressions.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're just gonna start doing things. We're like, okay, guys, close your eyes.
Okay.
Who's this
Oh,
that's
God.
in the room?
Ew, no. I'm not going to play that game with you, Jeff Holbrook.
Again?
Not again.
No, not again. Okay, well, you've done it. You wasted another hour
Yeah.
with us, which is great,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I have so much fun.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what we should do?
What?
We did not introduce ourselves at the beginning
That's right.
of
We
this
didn't.
podcast because we
We
just kind
didn't.
of like, you know how we
Our
roll.
soft openings.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Today it was
Whoa,
extra-
Whoa, gross.
Today it was extra soft.
Oh.
So let's end hard.
Yeah.
I'm so hard right now.
All right.
All right, everybody. Until next time, I'm Jeff Holbrook, and we have run out of show.
I'm Aaron Gottlieb with nothing else to say.
And I'm Adam Montag, and I might not be wearing pants.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thought we were all coming up with fun little phrases.
I
did, I'm not worried.
I'm glad you see it.